Here's another DIY job you may have to deal with if you own one of these R107s. I would say that about 50% of these old Mercedes that I see, whether they be an R107 or a 116 or a 123 or whatever, this is the problem they have, and it seems to never get fixed. People don't realize it's a problem that could become a big problem, and that problem is right here with the shifter. If you notice, watch closely, it's moving back and forth without any force. Now that is not the way it should be. I picked up a 300 CD coupe that was smashed in the back because it rolled down a hill and hit a tree because his shift bushings were shot, both of them. He thought he had it in park, but it was not in park. This is an important issue, let alone the fact that you're going to be driving down the road and this is going to be rattling. It will rattle. That's another indication that the bushings are bad, but you do not want to ignore this. I guarantee you're going to like the way it shifts so much better without all this slop, and you're going to like the way it sounds better without a lot of rattle, and of course you can also park it with peace of mind. So what I'm going to have to do with Cherry here now is I'm going to have to get under the car, get right underneath the transmission, find out which shift bushing it is, and change both of them. There's two of them, both on the transmission and on the bottom of the shift mechanism. You don't just change the one that's bad, change both, okay? I'm going to put this up on the lift later so you can actually see what I'm doing. But if you don't have a lift, I recommend putting the car up on 4 ramps for safety, and gives you plenty of room to get underneath the car and change these bushings. Let's take a look under the 380 SL and see what we've got. Access to the rear shift bushing is behind the flex disc. Well, look at that. To be expected here. Get my hand up to look at that. See? There's no bushing there. So that's where your rattle comes from when you're going down the road and you wonder, what's rattling under my car? Let's take a look at the front bushing. The front bushing is on the shift lever on the left side of the transmission. And I'm looking at the shift rod there. Looks like the bushing has popped out. Let's take a closer look at that one. See that the bushing's broken in half. And once again, that's rattling. So when you have both bushings gone, that's what I consider a dangerous situation on these cars. I think on this 380 SL, it's going to be easier to access that if I take half of this protective plate at the rear of the transmission. This splits in half, so I don't have to mess with the rear transmission mount. I've got 3, 4, 5, 7 bolts to take out, 13 millimeter. It should only take a second using my trusty impact. There it is. Okay, that's pretty easy. Now I've got more room to work up in here. Using the clip tool that you see here, this comes with my bushing tool. It was easy to get that rear clip off. Easy access. I was able to get the tool in there, twist that up, and pull that clip right off the end of the rod. I've dropped the rod. But moving forward here, look at this. The clip is on the inside. A lot of the cars, the clip's right up here, and you can get the tool and get the clip off, but the clip is hiding on the back side, and it's literally impossible to get that clip off with this type of arrangement. So what I'm going to do on this particular R107 is remove the shift arm. Now it is notched here, so you can't get it on wrong, so you don't have to worry about getting it off and getting it on wrong. But I'm going to go ahead and pull this whole lever off the side of the transmission. I'm going to remove this 10 millimeter bolt, and the bolt has to come all the way out. I may have to spread this a little bit. I'll pull this off, and then I can go ahead and just replace the bushing right on the bench. I'm going to try to move my hands out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. But I'm using a 10 millimeter ratcheting box wrench on one end and just holding the other end with a 10 millimeter box. You can probably get a socket and a lawn extension up in there if you want, but this works pretty well. Once you loosen it up, you hopefully, no, I can't. Just thinking maybe I could get it the rest of the way out by hand. All right, you can see the bolt there in the washer. I'm going to push the bolt back. The bolt has to come completely out because there is a notch right there in that shaft going into the transmission. Okay, the bolt's out. And then let's see if this will pry off without having to get it spread. Yeah, there it comes. Okay. Then just pull the whole thing out with the rod. And here you can see that destroyed bushing. And you can see the clip here. And you can now clearly see why you would not be able to get on the back side to get this clip off. So when you reinstall this, you're going to have to do it in the reverse order. I'm going to pull the rod out now, paint it, clean it up, and I'll come back and show you how we're going to pop the new bushing in. Just remember which hole it goes in. There's 2 holes here, so you need to remember it's going to go in the top hole when we put the new bushing in on the bench. With it on the bench, you're also going to get to see how this works very clearly. You can see how that bushing is just broken in half. The new bushings are made out of a nylon material. They're much stronger than the original plastic bushings, so when you replace these in your old Benz, you probably won't have to replace them again. These clips can be a real pain to get off. Under the car, you can't get your hand up there. This is why we came up with this tool. The tool goes right in here like this, and then it gets spread, and then you can pull it off like that. Now remember, the rod has to come from this side, okay? I got to remember that. The rod has to come from this side when we clean it up and paint it and put it back on. But right now, I'm just going to show you how I'll install the new bushing here. I'll take a brass brush and just clean this up a little bit. And then our bushings come with a little packet of synthetic grease. You don't need very much, but you just need a little bit of grease on there on the side that you're pushing in to get it to go in easily. Take the packet, squeeze out a little synthetic grease, and just wipe it on this edge right here. All right, you hold that there in place. What I found is if you just rock it a couple times when you're pushing on it, it's going to pop all the way in, because when it's all the way in, you want to see this lip all the way around on both sides. Isn't that slick? I rank this one up as one of the top 3 tools I've developed and sold over the years. If you have to put a shift bushing in your old Mercedes, you're just trying to do it without this tool here, you will be really frustrated. In case you don't know, this end of the rod is adjustable. You want to get your shift lever to line up with the appropriate lettering. In other words, when you put it in neutral, it should line up with the end. So you can adjust this a little bit fore and aft to get that just right if it's out of adjustment. Usually it doesn't get out of adjustment unless somebody's messed with it. So I can just push this in like this, and then I'm going to install the clip. I've got to do this before I put this back in underneath the car and hook the lever back up to the transmission. Now what I'm going to do is show you how this tool works right here on the bench, because it's going to be a lot easier than me trying to show you under the car. But you stick the flat part in like this, and then rotate it 90 degrees, and that pops that up so you can slide it on like this. You have to push in on the rod, and then you push this in, pull this out, and release the clip like that. Make sure it's all the way on. And if the clip has lost a little bit of spring, you can squeeze it. Squeeze it right in here. Don't squeeze it out here. That won't do anything. Squeeze it right here just a little bit. Okay, just like that. And then rotate it and squeeze it here like that. You want to make sure this part isn't going to lift up past the end of that rod and slide off. Okay. Now I can get this back in underneath the car. I can bolt this back on to the transmission shift shaft, and then I'll install the rear bushing and hook up the rear of the rod. Well, you can see that shift lever is way up in there. Imagine trying to struggle that shift bushing on without this tool. So I've already greased it up. Okay, I'm going to set it up in there, make sure it gets lined up. I think I'm going to have to go the other way so I can get straight. You have to get straight on with the bushing. It could go in either way, but I need to be straight like this. Okay, now I'll clamp that down. All right, let's give it a try. Okay, I'm just gonna push and rotate. There it is, it's in. And I'm just checking those flanges are showing on both sides. Look at that. Can you believe how slick that is? Can you imagine trying to get that? And we used to have all kinds of screwdrivers and pliers and things trying to put this in. But if you don't have this tool, you're going to be very sorry, I can guarantee it. All right, now I can bring the rod up. Line that up and push the rod in like that. And I'm going to put the clip in. You've already seen how I do that. I'll put the clip in. I'm going to put this skid plate underneath the transmission, and I'm done. I can lower the car. You know, I had to get back in Cherry here and show you the results of all that effort. You know, I have to admit it's not the easiest job in the world. It's well worth it, because once you get a shifter that shifts smoothly and with authority, it's actually more pleasurable to drive the car. It's just one of those subtle things. But now you see there's no more play, no more rattle, and it just lines up with all the lettering just perfectly. So this is another DIY job you can take on if you own or plan on getting an R107 convertible. And by the way, some of you might be wondering, well, Kent, would you have a list of all the parts that you sell for the R107? Yes, I do. I'm going to make it really easy. You go to my website and you put Cherry in the search box. I'm going to repeat that. Just go to my website, put Cherry in the search box, and it will take you to my shift bushing kit and all the other kits I sell to help you maintain and restore an R107.